Under the outer facade of polished morality and social advancement, a murky underworld of petty thieves, pimps, panderers, and clandestine prostitutes prospered in the heart of the Victorian era. These people, who were frequently seen on the busy streets of London, Manchester, and other developing cities, were essential to an underworld economy that depended on sustenance and total secrecy. Many of the most infamous brothels of the time were run by the masters of deception, known as the Bawds. They were usually older women who managed these businesses inconspicuously by using their savvy and knowledge. A Bawd was skilled at fraud, so her operations were protected from the prying eyes of law enforcement and ethical authorities in society. They sought after young females who were frequently from low-income families and lured them with offers of employment or accommodation. Bawds targeted to wealthy males, making sure their needs were concealed in a discreet manner. Bawds regularly bought off local politicians and hired muscle to protect their operations from police raids as well as other brothels. Interestingly, a lot of these tactics still work today, despite the passage of time and changes in society. Similar promises and coercive strategies are still used by exploiters in today's times to prey on the weak and keep control of the sex trade. The similarities between the Victorian era and the present illustrate the extent to which exploitation is and how difficult it is to eradicate deeply rooted abusive systems. Many women were given few options to make ends meet for their families and themselves because of the widespread poverty. Because women could not find other employment, the professions that were available to them were frequently exploitative and low-paying, which made prostitution a more lucrative but dangerous alternative. Women who were not married or abandoned, especially those who had children, faced enormous shame, which drove them even farther away from society and into the world of prostitution. Alcoholism increased prostitutes' exposure to violence and exploitation, trapping them further into the cycle of vice and poverty. Gin was frequently used by prostitutes as a coping mechanism to dull the mental and physical agony of work. Gin was provided by pimps and brothel owners to take advantage of this dependence and keep the women obedient. Victorian middle-class and upper-class people experienced moral panic due to the connection between gin and prostitution. Both were viewed by moralists and social reformers as signs of societal deterioration that required attention. Behind this facade of respectability, accommodation houses were businesses that, although they looked respectable on the outside, catered to illegal activity underneath. The individuals in charge of these homes had to balance a tightrope between maintaining their reputations as respectable citizens and covertly aiding prostitutes. They frequently ran brothels at night and real boarding houses throughout the day. These keepers were skilled at handling clients discreetly, avoiding attention by using secret entrances and hidden words. To guarantee a constant supply of protection and business, they kept their relationships with both the underworld and respectable members of society. Women who worked as clandestine prostitutes did so secretly, often to avoid the severe regulations and fines that existed at the time. These women operated independently or through secret relationships with housekeepers and pimps, in contrast to those who worked in brothels. They met their clients in discreet places like quiet alleyways or private rooms in boarding houses. Many used their day occupations as a cover, taking on jobs as shop assistants, maids, or seamstresses. Some used cryptic newspaper ads to draw customers without revealing who they were. The double-edged sword of Victorian morality was marked by a strict moral code that condemned prostitution while simultaneously creating the conditions that made it thrive. Many women were pushed into the dark world of sex work due to reasons such as limited opportunity, a lack of schooling, and economic hardship. Even though prostitution was widely condemned by society, many of its members, especially men from the upper and middle classes, frequently visited brothels. This deception made it possible for the trade to prosper. In an attempt to tackle prostitution, laws like the Contagious Diseases Act targeted the women who were involved, imprisoned them, and examined them in great detail. Rather than providing protection or solutions, these actions frequently made the situation for prostitutes worse. The main goal of the CDAs was not to protect the health and welfare of prostitutes, but rather to prevent STIs from infecting military troops. Those who were found to be infected were often kept in horrific conditions in lock hospitals until they were deemed clean. The CDAs only targeted women, maintaining a double standard that punished prostitutes while ignoring the role played by their male clients in the spread of sexually transmitted diseases. Men who financed prostitutes were not held responsible, which contributed to an atmosphere of tolerance and left women to bear the full cost of disease control. The Ladies' National Association for the Repeal of the Contagious Diseases Acts was founded by activists inspired by Josephine Butler, a social reformer of moral and legal inequality. Butler arranged petitions, public gatherings, and publications to increase public awareness and put pressure on the government to repeal the acts. Activists' persistent campaigns led to the CDA's suspension in 1883 and complete repeal in 1886. It is our responsibility to draw lessons from the past, address present-day injustices, and work towards a time when each and every person can live in dignity, free from abuse and pressure. By doing this, we pay tribute to the perseverance of people who suffered hardships while living in the shadow of Victorian society and get closer to a world that is just and equal. Thank you for watching this exploration of the hidden world of Victorian society. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth historical narratives and explorations of intriguing topics. See you in the next video.